Welcome to part 3 of the Blender Design Figurine tutorial. We start with the same file we worked on in part 2. With the mesh of the figurine done, we're now ready to rig it with an armature. For the armature to work, the mesh must have corresponding vertex groups set up. There are two ways to do this, the easy automated way and the better manual way. For best quality, we'll choose the manual approach. The work of manual vertex group weighting can be tedious, but we can partly automate the process. We take advantage of the fact that the mirror modifier can transfer vertex groups to the mirrored side, provided that correctly named groups already exist. OK, go to the text editor, click the Open button and navigate to the script named bvp dft3 vgroups.py, available for download from the description of this video. Press Ctrl-T for tool shelf and click Syntax Highlight and Word Wrap. As you can see, the script is very simple. It creates empty vertex groups for all armature elements, with the R prefix for right side and L for the left. The script features no error checking. Before running it, save the file so that you can revert in case of problems. OK, make sure the design figurine is selected, then click the Run Script button. In Object Data panel, you can see that the script has created the named vertex groups. We will manually assign faces to the groups with R prefixes, and the mirror modifier will take care of those on the left of the figure. We will also assign faces to the central groups, head, neck, and so on. Switch to 3D view. Tab to Edit mode and switch to Face selection. Press A once or twice to ensure no faces are selected. Click the Hips vertex group in the list. Then with Alt-click and Shift-Alt-click, select the bottom 3 bands of faces on the torso. Shift-click the 2 narrow faces between the legs to complete the selection. In Vertex Groups pane, click the Assign button. Now click Abdomen in the list and select the next 3 bands going up on the torso. Then click the Assign button. The chest faces are not so easy to select, so we'll do those last. Next, the neck. Click the name in the list, then select the 3 bands as shown. And click Assign. Repeat for the head. Next are shoulder. It's 1 band of faces between the chest and the upper arm. Same procedure as the others. Click the name, select the faces and click Assign. Now 4 bands for the R arm upper. And again 4 bands of faces for R arm 4. Next are hand. We will do an inverse selection. Press numpad 7 for top view and Z for wireframe shading. Press A to deselect all. Now with B for box selection, select the tips of the 4 fingers, just 1 band of faces at the top. Now press Ctrl+ exactly 9 times. Then with B again, select the 7 bands of faces on the thumb, counting from the tip. Then press Ctrl+ once again. In Vertex Groups list, click R Arm 4, then click the Select button. Now press Ctrl-I to invert the selection. With B for box selection, shift-drag the mouse over selected polygons not part of the hand to deselect them. We are left with only the hand faces selected. Click the R hand line in the list and click Assign. Press Z for solid shading. Before moving on to the thumb and the fingers, look carefully at the hand selection. Notice where it ends and the fingers begin. As you can see, the bottom ring of faces on each finger is assigned to the hand, but on the thumb it isn't. OK, for our thumb base, select the bottom ring of faces, click the name in the list, then click Assign. For our thumb mid, select the next 4 rings and repeat the procedure. Our thumb tip, select the next 3 rings and the 4 faces on top. Repeat the procedure. Our index base, 4 rings above the last ring of the hand, and repeat the steps as before. And repeat for our index mid, 4 rings going up. Then our index tip, the same as we did with the tip of the thumb, 3 rings and 4 faces. Work slowly to make sure you don't make mistakes. And the whole thing repeats for the rest of the fingers. Their structure is exactly the same. So I'm going to speed up through them. OK, we end with our pinky tip. Now our leg thigh. 4 rings from the top of the leg. Repeat the same procedure as before. Our leg shin, 4 rings of faces down, including one of the 2 narrow bands at the bottom above the foot. Skip the ankle for the moment. Select the 3 rings of faces at the front of the foot, plus the 6 faces in front, like so. Assign them to our foot toes. Now click our leg shin in the list and click the Select button. Press Ctrl I to invert the selection. Press numpad 1 for front view and Z for wireframe shading. With B and shift dragging, deselect the faces not part of the foot. Press Z for solid shading and confirm that the ankle faces are selected. Assign them to R, foot, ankle in the list. Finally, the chest. Press A to deselect all, then from the vertex group list, select the neck, shoulder and abdomen. Invert the selection with Ctrl I. Press numpad 1 for front view, Z for wireframe shading, and with B and shift dragging, deselect faces not part of the chest. Press Z for solid shading and assign the selected faces to chest in the list. Now quickly select the rest of the groups we have assigned . Then press Ctrl I to invert the selection. No faces should be selected as shown in the info bar. That's a quick way to check for errors of omission. If you have misassigned faces, you will find out later and make corrections. Tap to Object Mode and apply the Mirror modifier. Now switch to Weight Paint mode. As you click on items in the vertex group list, you can see the weighting on the figure, including the parts prefixed with L. We're going to make the transitions between shoulder, chest, abdomen and hips smoother. In Tool Shelf, set Brush Radius to 35 pixels if not set already, Strength to 0.3, Blending set to Add from the pop-up menu. In Options pane of Tool Shelf, click the X Mirror button to reduce the number of paint strokes we have to perform. Select the R Leg Thigh vertex group in the list and paint some green up into the hips. Do it carefully, as it's easy to inadvertently paint elsewhere. If you make a mistake, use Ctrl-Z to undo the error. Then select the hips vertex group and paint some green up into the abdomen. Repeat for abdomen, painting green up into the chest and down into the hips. Similarly for the chest, paint some green down into the abdomen. Then carefully paint some green in the armpit area. Finally, the right shoulder. Paint a touch of green into the chest area toward the neck, but not too much. Take care not to paint on the head. Then change the brush blend mode to subtract and reduce the weighting in the armpit area, minimizing deformation there. Great, that should do. Switch to Object Mode. Now on to the rigging. Press Numpad 1 for front view and Z for wireframe shading. With the 3D cursor still in the center, add an armature bone object. Tab to Edit Mode, press A twice to select the whole bone, then G followed by Z, enter 2.26 to move the bone up to the hips. In Armature Data Panel, turn on Axis and X-ray display settings. Select the tail of the bone, the ball at the top, and move it down with G followed by Z, enter -0.58. Press E to extrude, followed by Z, enter 0.57, creating the abdomen bone. Press E followed by Z, enter 0.83 for the chest bone. And again for the neck, E to extrude, followed by Z, enter 0.14. Then the head with E to extrude, followed by Z, enter 0.79. Select the tail ball of the chest bone, press E to extrude, followed by X, enter -0.205 for the shoulder bone. In the Bone Data panel, uncheck Connected. Select the bone and move it with G followed by X, enter -0.445. Then G followed by Z, enter -0.24. Select the tail ball and press E to extrude, followed by X, enter minus 0.654 for the upper arm. Press E to extrude, followed by X, enter minus 0.625 for the forearm. And again E to extrude, followed by X, enter minus 0.37 for the hand. Change to top view with numpad 7. Press E to extrude, followed by Y, enter minus 0.049. In Bone Data panel, uncheck Connected. Select the bone and move it with G followed by Y, enter minus 0.175, and G followed by X, enter 0.201. That's the base of the thumb. Select its tail ball and press E to extrude, followed by Y, enter minus 0.13 for the middle segment. And again for the tip, E to extrude, followed by Y, enter minus 0.12. Select the tail ball of the hand bone again. Press E to extrude, followed by X, enter minus 0.132 for the base of the index finger. In Bone Data panel, uncheck Connected. Select the new bone and move it with G followed by Y, enter minus 0.15, and G followed by X, enter minus 0.002. As you can see, we are placing bones exactly in line with loops on the mesh. Select the tail ball of this bone and press E to extrude, followed by X, enter minus 0.113 for the middle segment. And again E to extrude, followed by X, enter minus 0.102 for the tip. Press Shift and the left square bracket twice to select all three of the finger bones. Duplicate with Shift D, followed by Y, enter 0.1, then move slightly forward with G followed by X, enter minus 0.006. That's the middle finger, but we need to adjust the bones. Select the tail ball of the base bone and move it with G followed by X, enter minus 0.015. Select the next tail ball and move it with G followed by X, enter minus 0.034. Select the last tail ball and move it with G followed by X, enter minus 0.052. Press Shift and the left square bracket twice to select all three bones of this finger. Duplicate and move them with Shift D followed by Y, enter 0.1 for the ring finger. Select the tail ball of the base bone and move it back with G followed by X, enter 0.011. Select the next tail ball and move it with G followed by X, enter 0.03. Select the last tail ball and move it back with G followed by X, enter 0.041. Once again, press Shift and the left square bracket twice to select the finger structure, then duplicate and move it with Shift D followed by Y, enter 0.096. Then move it back with G followed by X, enter 0.008. Select the tail ball of the base bone and move it with G followed by X, enter 0.028. Select the next tail ball and move it with G followed by X, enter 0.063. Select the last tail ball and move it with G followed by X, enter 0.093. That's the hand done. Now the leg. Press numpad 1 for front view. Select the tail ball of the hips bone and press E followed by Z, enter minus 1.07. In Bone Data panel, uncheck Connected. Select the new bone and move it with G followed by X, enter minus 0.32, and G followed by Z, enter minus 0.393. And that's the thigh. Now select its tail ball and for the shin, press E to extrude, followed by Z, enter minus 0.947. Press Shift and the left square bracket once to select both leg bones, then numpad 3 for side view. Move the bone slightly back with G followed by Y, enter 0.024. Select the bottom tail ball and press E to extrude followed by Y, enter minus 0.18. Then move the new tail down with G followed by Z, enter minus 0.143. That's the foot ankle bone. For the toes, press E to extrude followed by Y, enter minus 0.53. And that's it, we've made all the bones we need to make. We've been working with precision, but mistakes are possible. Let's check that the armature and the mesh line up correctly. Tail balls of the bones should line up with loops that define the joints. Okay, looks good. Tab to Object Mode and press Z for solid shading. Now, there are a number of things that need to be done. The bones must be named, matching the names of vertex groups in the figurine mesh. Then, the bones of the arm and leg must be copied and mirrored to the left side of the figurine. Finally, for the rig to work correctly, bone constraints and IK limits must be set. We're going to save some time by using a script to do the work for us. Save the file so you can revert to it if you run into problems. With Armature selected, switch to the text editor window. From the text menu, choose Open Text Block and navigate to the file bvp dft3 armature.py, available for download from the description of this video. Feel free to study the script at your leisure, but we're now ready to use it. Click the Run Script button. Now switch back to 3D view and go into pose mode. Let's take a look at what the script has done. As we select the bones along the hierarchy, you can see they are named the same as the corresponding vertex groups. The limbs have been mirrored to the other side and names adjusted accordingly. All bones except the hips have a limit rotation constraint, ensuring the armature will not move in unnatural ways. For example, rotating a shin, it can go very far back but cannot rotate forward. There are some exceptions. The thumb bones and the finger base bones have their constraints muted for better maneuverability. The script has also set IK limits matching the constraints. The values are grayed out because we're not using IK just yet. Finally, IK stiffness has been set on shoulder bones so that they are slow to move in the IK chain, avoiding undue distortion of the mesh. The ankles also have stiffness set for more natural IK movement. Before moving on, let's create bone groups for the hands. They will help us with selecting. Still in pose mode, click the right hand to select it. Press numpad 7 for top view and zoom in. Press B and select the thumb and fingers as well. In Armature Data panel, click the plus button for a new bone group and name it R, hand and fingers. Click the Assign button. Click the left hand bone and repeat the procedure. Name the new group L, hand and fingers and click Assign. Now switch to object mode. Select the Design Figurine object, then shift-click the armature to also select it. Press Ctrl P to parent the mesh to the armature and choose With Empty Groups to continue using our weighted vertex groups. Select the mesh and in Modifiers panel, turn on Preserve Volume in the Armature Modifiers and move the modifier up the stack by clicking the Up button. Enable the Subsurf modifier by clicking its eye icon. In Tool Shelf, click the Smooth button, and in Object Properties, turn off Wire Display. Select the armature, switch to Pose mode, and in Tool Shelf Options pane, click Auto IK. Now select the hand bone and with G move it about. You can see how the rest of the arm follows. Select a foot bone and move it, same thing. The rest of the leg moves. OK, press W and choose Clear User Transforms All. And that's the armature done. On to part 4 of this tutorial, where we create a small library of standard poses for the hands and set up IK targets on the legs to make our figurine ready for animation.